And we're live with Tim O'Shea. Thank you for joining us. We're in a new studio, a temporary studio, but a new studio today, and we got a couple of special guests. We're live, we're not live, but we actually are kind of live. So joining me in the booth today is Dan Labbadia, a one-time United States track and field CCCA Outdoor All-Region East Performer in 2021, USTF CCA Outdoor All-Academic Athlete in 2021, the founder of Jacked Javelin. They got over 25,000 followers on Instagram, 1.5 thousand subscribers on YouTube, a strength and javelin coach joining us today. And to the left of him is Jordan Davis, one of the best javelin throwers in the country right now, a 2022 D2 national champion in javelin, a two-time All-American, and he just threw the NCAA record for javelin, ranking 4th in the world. Thank you guys for joining me today in the booth. Thank you for taking time out of your day.
Of course.
Thanks for having us.
So, I want to start off by with Jordan right now. And Jordan, you came into college playing both sports, football and javelin or in track. You ended up quitting football. What drove you to javelin?
To be honest, it was just the experience of javelin. I came into college wanting to play football. I wanted to be a football star my whole life. Javelin was kind of just a hobby. And then the more I did it and the more I was kind of in the track environment, I fell in love with it more and more. And then it came to the point where I had to sacrifice one, and I was kind of statistically better at javelin, so I had to sacrifice football, and now we're here.
And your brother was a prominent football player too.
Yeah, he was a stud.
Owns a Connecticut record, 10 touchdowns in a single game back at She in high school. That's ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, it was nuts.
It's more than my whole career.
So, you move to track. You're going full-time in track now. And Dan, this is when you start to come into the picture. And you were a successful freshman javelin thrower as well. You ranked academically within the conference, within Division II. When did you guys meet up, and when did this relationship blossom?
Yeah, so it's actually a funny story because I was getting ready to compete my junior year. I was coming back from Tommy John surgery, and when our coach told me that Jordan was coming here on a visit, I was actually kind of upset because I was like, damn, I want to be the best on the team, man. And so, because I already knew that he threw 208 as a high school junior, and my PR at the time was 182. So that season ended up getting canceled because of COVID, and then so I missed my second season in a row. So now I was just training my senior year, and I started training with the other freshman, Nevin, who's with us still. And after football wrapped up, after the extended Christmas break, Jordan joined us, and we were training at Powerhouse Gym in New Haven. So basically, it was just the three of us training together because practices were not happening at the time. And I just took those two freshmen under my wing and showed them everything that I knew. And I, at the time, was being mentored by a private javelin coach who runs an Instagram page called Javelin Anatomy. And he's been a big mentor in my life. So I essentially hired him. He taught me, and then everything I learned from him, I taught Nevin and Jordan. And so Jordan went out and threw like 65 meters that year. And, we did work on his technique a decent amount, but I would say the main priority was his legs. I was just working on making sure that he was healthy, making sure that he was strong, and just didn't get hurt that season. And he did really well. And I didn't qualify for nationals that year, but Jordan did. And I drove out to be his official coach, which was really cool. And that kind of started that coach-athlete relationship and that coach-athlete role that I was in, because I trained alongside him and taught him everything I knew. But then at the end of the day, when it came to those bigger meets that I didn't qualify for, I was coaching him. So that kind of just stayed basically that same thing for when I was in grad school, and when Jordan was a sophomore, same thing. He went out and qualified for the nationals and won the nationals. I went out to coach him, and then I got hired on staff last year officially as a paid coach. And so last year is when, Jordan improved the least, but is when he had the highest amount of expectations coming off of that 2022 year. And that was the year that I was there the least, because the first 2 years I was on the team, so I trained with him every day. And then last year, being an assistant, I was only there a couple times a week, only when he threw, never in the weight room, nothing like that. So then last year after the season was a little bit of a disappointment. We sat down and we were like, listen, the Olympics is next year. Like, let's go all in on this. And so I dedicated much more time to come in here to train him, and he quit football and went full time with it. And, we really, really made a lot of progress this offseason.
Yeah, and being former teammates to now a coach-player relationship, that's a lot of trust, and that doesn't always work out all the time.
Yeah, we definitely built a bond early, and I understood his role and I understood mine early, and it kind of just flowed. It went together. We're boys, obviously we're brothers, but at the end of the day, he is my coach, so it's like we found that equilibrium of like what will work best, and now we're rolling.
Yeah, and like you just said, like you weren't around during that 2023 season to now 2024 came around, and now you're throwing NCAA world records, right? So what was that change? What went into that training over this offseason? And either of you can speak on this.
Yeah, so I was around last year, but I was only here 2 days a week. Now this year, I've been here pretty much like 3 or 4 days a week every year. Just because my role was increased. I had a strength and conditioning job at a private sector gym that I dedicated most of my time to my first year out of college. And, this past year, I scaled my hours back significantly to spend more time with Javelin and working on the Jacked Javelin brand and stuff. But this year, we really just kind of took an approach of just like having an increased throwing volume. We did a lot with weighted balls over the summer and into the fall to just work on his throwing power, because even though he has such a gifted arm, that's never something that we worked on improving, because when we only had 4 months to prepare for the season, the technique was the main focus, not the power. So we worked on improving his power, and then also just using his lower half a lot more, like getting that follow through after the throw, and also adding more speed and rhythm to the full approach.
Gotcha. And like right now, what does it take to become a national champion, dude? Like what do you have to go into every workout, every day? What's the mindset of a national champion? Because I know a lot of people are watching this, like they want to know coming from you.
Yeah. Since the season last year, like you said, it was a little disappointing. Right when that season ended, I just got back to work. I lifted extra. I'm in the weight room like 4 hours a day.
I see you.
Yeah, I live in the weight room. So it was a lot of extra weights, a lot of extra technique work. I did the most technique work I've ever done. I probably in a month that I did, and compared to the 4 months that I competed. So just a lot of extra work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, literally, that just lasted from the summer of last year up until now. I just promised myself that I'll never underwork myself, and I'll never let anyone else really outwork me. And I kind of had that mindset since last nationals, losing last year. So ever since then, it's just been a grind, and I fell in love with it. You really get addicted to the grind when you really are passionate about something, and now I'm an addict of it, and it just can't stop.
Yeah, and we were talking about it beforehand. There's a stereotype with track athletes that they don't lift. They're not strong, right? And you guys definitely, put a hold on that. So tell me a little bit about that stereotype, and with Jacked Javelin too, like you're trying to break it.
Yeah, so there's just a lot of, I would say, the throwers in general, like weight throwers, shot putters, discus, are definitely known for what they do in the weight room, but overhead athletes like pitchers, baseball players, and javelin throwers, a lot of people will shy away from things like the bench press in order to preserve shoulder health and stuff like that. And so basically what we started with Jacked Javelin was, initially when I had just my Coach Dan Lab page, it was just a workout program, and it's just evolved into much more of a brand. And basically I sat Jordan down like a year ago when I had about 5,000 followers, and Jacked Javelin wasn't even a thing. And I just said, listen, there's a need out there for javelin to be mainstream. Like, no one's doing it like we're about to do it. I was basically saying, no one brings as much swag to the sport as Jordan. No coach brings as much swag as I like to think that I bring. I mean, being a young, 25-year-old coach and, being there training with Jordan sometimes and still throwing myself, people like to see that. And, it creates buy-in and just, I think that something that Jordan and I complement each other on a lot is like, Jordan will tell you, like, I was always the super, super serious one, and he was the one that was really talented but didn't take it as seriously. And now we kind of have that blend of, like, I'm able to relax in the sport and not take it as seriously now, but still enjoy it and have fun with it. And Jordan is now taking it more seriously. So, like he was saying, we kind of found that equilibrium where, like, I was so much this way, Jordan was so much this way, and now we're both kind of like in the middle. And that's the other thing too that I've gotten a lot of feedback on with people with the Jacked Javelin brand is like they just love like how much fun we have while doing it and just how relaxed we are, because a lot of people just don't they don't look the part like we look the part, not to be like cocky or anything, but like
by all means,
just stuff like, with looking like a freak athlete and talking the talk, but like walking the walk as well. And then also just like, like you said, when you watch the video of like Jordan throwing 83 at Texas, like you just see like the relaxation, you see like the goofing off a little bit in between the throws and just having fun with the sport,
Yeah, and that was one thing when I was watching the Texas relay videos. Like you turn it on just like that, and I remember in one of the throws, you even like got the crowd into it. You're clapping. So is that kind of the angle you guys are taking right now, just making the sport fun? And I mean, as a football player, swag and stuff like that. That's a big part of football. Yeah. Are you trying to incorporate parts of other sports that you played, like you are a fan of other sports, into javelin and making it yours?
Yeah. I played football for like 14 years of my life. So it's cool to be able to bring that style into a not so popular sport like javelin. So I definitely try and bring that energy alive. Football players, the best football players are able to turn it on like that. So I kind of replicate that in my own way in this sport. So definitely playing football in my life helps that. Definitely able to goof off a lot. You'll see me most of the time I am joking around, having fun, but when it comes to like serious lifts, when it's time to throw like in the finals, I'll turn it on and I'll switch into a different person, a different competitor, and you kind of see that. It's very vivid to see, and I think that's just something you have to have. You got to be able to be relaxed, and then when it's time, you got to be able to lock in.
Yeah, and it just seems like it's kind of a perfect storm right now, because you have Southern Connecticut State University, just the program itself for track and field and Coach Wallen and stuff like that's already a ranked program, right? And now you have a coach that's encouraging you to be yourself, add all this stuff to it. And what does that say about Dan, and what does that say about javelin itself and where the sport is going?
Yeah, it's cool to be here, to be honest. Like I get to do things that not a lot of other athletes that say they went D1 get to do. I get a lot more leeway. I get to be myself. I'm not just a statistic here. John Wallen is the best coach in New England, if not the U.S., I think, hands down. And now I get a personal coach that's the best in his craft now too. So I get two of the best coaches around that allow me to be me. I'm definitely not the easiest to handle all the time, and if I was at another program, possibly I wouldn't click there, But here, I get to do my thing. I get to have fun. I get to be me, and my two coaches allow me to be me and to have fun and to actually enjoy the sport. I know a lot of track athletes that are miserable because they aren't allowed to express themselves. Here, I express myself maybe a little too much sometimes. But, it's fun. It's perfect here.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing, too, with Jordan, was just the first 3 years was just increasing buy-in. Like he said, he wanted to be a football star, and that was kind of his main focus. And, I couldn't force him to work harder than what he was ready to do if he didn't like the sport. So it was like, we always joke around about how, like, I'll learn a lot of stuff and then I'll dumb it down to try to explain it. And, this is the first year where I've actually, I think, been able to have those nerdy javelin training technique conversations with Jordan, because this year was like his buy-in was way higher. And that just took a couple of years to harness for him, which is fine, because everyone's different. And that was like, on my part, like I didn't want to force that on him very early on to be at my level of understanding and my level of obsession when I knew he wasn't there yet. So the fact that he got there on his own naturally was huge, and we were able to just really take it to the next level this year.
Yeah, and I want to touch on something that you said too, because you said, Coach Wallen, one of the best coaches in the country. You got Dan here, who's an up and coming, one of the best javelin coaches in the country. Because a lot of people are like, dude, you're a national champion. Why aren't you somewhere else? Why aren't you at a big D1 program somewhere? So why do you stay at Southern? I think a lot of people want to know that.
Yeah, we get the question a lot. Why D2?
5 times a day.
Yeah. The cool thing about track is it's statistical. It's numbers. You can't argue with numbers. Doesn't matter if I'm D3, D2, D1. My numbers are my numbers, and where I'm going to get the most results doesn't matter where I'm at. Yeah, D1 might have bigger facilities, more assets, but I think I'm doing good here. And I'm kind of old school anyways. Like, I like the old rustic weight room and kind of grinding that way, and that's what we have. We don't have the highest end stuff, but we make do with what we have, and if we don't have it, our coaches and Dan make sure we get that. So it's definitely cool. I like the fact that I'm D2 because it shows other people that you can be exceptional at a lower platform, and just like, why not D2 and why not? A lot of people don't know about Southern. Like, we are climbing. Mm-hmm. We got a new AD, Terrence. We have this new environment now, new word of mouth of Southern, and it just keeps building. And I think it's a great place, and we could compete with D1. People don't realize we beat D1 schools. Like, what was it, 2 years ago? We won our New England meet, where it's all divisions. That's where we do compete with those big schools, and I think it's fun. We're the underdog. We're always looked at the underdog, and we're just I'd rather be the wolf climbing the mountain than the wolf already on top that not as hungry,
Hungry dogs eat.
Hungry dogs eat.
But when you throw, a winning javelin throw and you win a meet, how good does that feel, representing, that underdog program?
You want me to get this?
Yeah, you're the one throwing
I guess
it.
I threw it. Yeah. It feels good. Going in, a lot of people will see that logo and see the school and be like, Southern, and just look past it. So being able to represent the school is huge. I mean, that's what you really do it for. I mean, a lot of it is like, we're looking at it as just like solo and me, but at the end of the day, I'm representing a school, I'm representing a team and a family. So being able to do it for them is awesome. That's what I really am here to do. It's not just for me, it's for my people. It's for the people I love, my brothers and I guess sisters, because it's a co-ed team. But yeah, it's just representing them all.
Shout out to the Lady Owls.
Hell yeah.
And Dan, dude, like you were a hell of a javelin thrower yourself, man. And I read off some of your accolades here, but what caught your eye about Jordan, and what just makes him different that just puts him on that different level?
Yeah, so I always talk about, elite level athletes are able to do two different things that set them apart from the rest. One is that naturally they're able to do things correct that they don't even know they're doing correct. So, for example, I had Tommy John surgery, and my arm path and external rotation in my shoulder and hip-shoulder separation was terrible naturally. I had to go through a surgery and probably 2 years of training to get subpar at that skill. And Jordan walked in his freshman year and just hit the perfect hip-shoulder separation with his arm completely all the way back, straight external rotation, and still able to bench over 330 pounds. So the fact that this kid was able to still be strong, but then have that whippy throwing arm and external rotation in his shoulder, and the ability to just turn his hips forward, keep his arm back, and throw it was that's all he did, and he threw 65 meters. So his
my bad.
You're good. So his ability to do that was just you can't teach that. If he's doing that on his own, then that already sets him up years ahead of everyone else. And then the second thing is just your ability to learn. When you are athletic, you have very good body awareness. And so for Jordan, something that I teach him will take him a month to get it, and then something I teach someone else, it might take them a year or 2 years to master that skill. So that's why with Jordan, his first 3 years he played football, and he was still able to go from 63 to 74 in those first 3 years. And then he dedicates one singular offseason to full work. And it was like, all right, he ended the season in May. June, we focused on one thing, moved on to the next thing. July, we focused on one thing, moved on to the next thing, so on and so on and so forth. And now, one meet into the year, he's already up 9 meters since last year, because that compounding effect just keeps going. Whereas someone else, we might start the offseason working on this one thing. We might not move on to something else until November. Mm-hmm. And then we kind of fix that thing, and then we start working. And then they're like, oh, that thing that I fixed before is now regressing because I'm focusing on something else. All right, we got to go back to that. Where Jordan, it's like, you get it, you practice it, next month you move on, and it's usually never a problem ever again, at this point at least.
Yeah, and I've noticed there's a new trend kind of, even in professional athletics. I don't know if you watched the Netflix show Quarterbacks with Patrick Mahomes and all those guys.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but like a lot of those quarterbacks are working on rotation. It's not about strength anymore, and you're strong. Both of you guys are strong, but it's a lot more rotation, plyometrics and stuff. How much of that is important and incorporated into the training, especially with throwing? When all Tommy John and all that is a huge issue, how much does plyometrics and rotation come into play?
Yeah, so we practice a lot of like med balls, like we practice like rotating. Actually, I just posted it the other day, like a video of Jordan. We're doing a rotational med ball scoop toss where basically you're at your back hip, you rotate forward and you stop it, and then you bring it back this way and you stop it, and then on the third time or the second time going forward, you'll bring it forward and throw it. So you're working on accelerating, decelerating, accelerating, decelerating, accelerating as fast as you can, and then throwing. And that's all that rotational aspect. So we do that a lot. And then we do a lot of like overcoming isometrics, which basically are, you're just putting as much force into something as you possibly can, and it's an immovable object. So what you're doing is essentially just like recruiting as much energy as possible, but you're not really eliciting like any muscle fiber breakdown to get sore. So it's a great opportunity to do that type of stuff, like max effort strength in season without damaging the muscle tissue. So basically what you're doing there is you're just working on your body's ability to create and absorb force. And, we do it specifically in that rotational aspect in order to have it translate from the throw where you're facing forward in the running phases, and then you turn sideways in the crossovers, and Jordan wraps. So he's even more rotational than other people. And then you rotate back forward at the time of the throw. Mm. And like we talked about, what Jordan does really well naturally is like that hip shoulder separation where his hips get forward and then his arm stays back is an even extra level of rotation, where some younger throwers or less athletic throwers might not have as much rotation to their throw because they can't get in and out of that position to be able to throw it down the middle at that point.
Gotcha. And last year, your best throw was 74 meters, and then in 2021 you were throwing 64 meters. Last year you improved to 74 meters. This year you're throwing almost 84 meters. I mean, you threw 83 at the Texas Relays. What have you been doing to improve on every single year? And I know either of you can talk on this, but from your perspective, what have you improved on, and what have you been teaching them to get those numbers?
That's hard because kind of everything.
Yeah.
We still got strong. I came in decently strong, upper body. I got into the car accident in high school, lost a lot of lower body strength. So we rebuilt that my whole freshman year. That was just like the main focus. And then each year just got more technical, and sacrificing football this whole year has just been all technical, all strength. I was able to put it all together at once, not just really, this year I'm going to work on getting my legs strong. This year I'm going to work on my arm path or whatever. It was kind of putting it all together and being able to hyper-focus all those at once and build on all those. This summer I trained a lot with my brother at Triton Athletics. And we did a lot of Olympic lifting. So that was one of my things that I worked on this year, is just being really explosive. And at the same time, still doing all the technique work, getting smoother in my approach and my throws. And we just combine those. And so far, I guess it's going pretty well.
Yeah. Do you think, based on your training, and this is your perspective, we don't have to put science behind it or anything, but do you think that lifting hang cleans, power cleans, moving the weight, explosive lifts is more beneficial than just doing squats, bench? Does it depend on the sport, and you've played both, so from your perspective, what do you think?
I think you have to have those explosive movements. I think if you're just doing like a slow squat or just a slow bench, you're losing out on those fast twitch muscle fibers, and you're kind of screwing yourself over. You got to have those cleans, snatches, all those explosive movements, because at the end of the day, sports are explosive. When you just try and get big and strong, a lot of times there's, like in football, it's easy. There's weight room guys, and then they go out in the field and somehow get murdered. When you're explosive and you bring that onto your sport, that's when you're the true athlete. So you do need, I think it's a necessity I'd rather focus on those explosive lifts than those slow compound lifts.
Yeah. From my perspective as a coach too, like typically what we'll do is we'll start with like the squat, bench, deadlift, because those slower movements is what during the eccentric portion of those lifts, when you're lowering the weight down, is where you're tearing all the muscle fibers down. So that helps you get big and strong. And then as you get closer to the season, you'll kind of start weaning off of those a little bit and focus more on the faster movements like the hip snatch and the hang clean and stuff like that. So earlier in the off season, you're working on gaining strength and gaining muscle mass. And then the closer you get to the season, you'll start kind of just maintaining that muscle mass that you built early on, and then focusing more on speed and power as the season gets closer. And that kind of goes to say too, with like someone who's in high school or a freshman or sophomore in college that's younger, they want to gain muscle mass. And then once you gain that muscle mass, it's easier to keep. So, spending more time doing like those traditional lifts like bench, squat, deadlift might benefit you when you're younger. And then once you get older and more advanced, you don't need to do as much of the slow lifting to keep building. You're not going to keep building muscle like year after year after year. I mean, you could, but like the idea is you get to a point when you're 22, 23 that you have the muscle mass, and then you kind of just do a level to maintain, because, once you fill out and you're at your peak, like, you don't need to always keep hammering those slow lifts to keep adding muscle mass. You want to maintain what you got and be able to work more on the explosive power and just overall more of that skill in the sport. And then, mobility, of course, is huge as well, to stay injury-free as you get older and bigger and stronger and more powerful. That's where you got to be like, all right, you got to kind of harness that energy and be able to recover and bounce back.
Yeah, and I bet as Jordan's coach, whenever he breaks a record or wins a national title, you got to feel just as jubilant, right? You got to feel like that's almost your record as well. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, I can't take all the credit. Like Jordan is huge. I mean, listen, man, like Jordan is a gifted athlete, and I tell him all the time, like, he saved me from the sport, and because like I had Tommy John, and then I missed another year because of COVID, and then I came back and my first throwback from Tommy John, and I thought I tore my UCL again. And I just had so many ups and downs, and like I was investing a bunch of money into the sport to learn about it and rehab and all this stuff, and it just never seemed to pan out for me in college. And like I don't know that I would have stuck with the sport or stayed around it if Jordan like wasn't here, because he kind of gave me that just he brought, like what I was talking about, like him taking like that non-serious, like kind of just having fun with it approach made the sport fun for me again. And it really made me be like, all right, well, the stuff that I'm learning and teaching someone else is helping him improve like an insane amount. And then I just kind of realized that like God had a different calling on my life, and that's what I was called to do is to coach.
Wow, that was beautiful, Dan. And you got to feel the same way about it. It seems like you guys kind of have like a perfect marriage right now.
Yeah, we're married. Yeah.
Don't tell Anna.
Oh God. Yeah, I mean, he's devoting a lot of time, money, and effort into me and his craft, and to get it's not just me, it's everyone that he's coaching, everyone around him better. So what I do is also what he does. At the end of the day, it's like I wouldn't be here without him. Mm-hmm. I could get stronger, I could get faster, more explosive, but at the end of the day, am I able to put that into a specific technical sport without a perfect coach? And he's been great all year, and since I've been here, really since we competed together until now. a great guy.
Yeah. And, you know, I've always wondered this about track, too. Like, track athletes that pick one event, just stick with it. What drove you guys to be javelin throwers? Were you just kind of naturally good at it and you kind of stuck with it, see how good you can be? Or is it something you just, like, genuinely love to do when you first started out?
Yeah, so, I mean, when I joined track when I was in high school, I did all the throws, and it just was weird because something about it, like, when I was younger, I was in that weird space where, like, I just couldn't quite hold the discus without it like slipping out of my hand. The shot put was like, you know, I wasn't really strong enough yet to like get the 12-pound shot put to go more than like 30 feet. And it just wasn't as fun. I think that the javelin I always had kind of like a good ability to just get it to throw through the point, which like no one else on my team could do. And so then, like, you know, I stuck with all three until college, and, you know, same thing. In college, it got harder for me because by my senior year of high school, I eventually like kind of figured out how to throw a 12-pound shot and whatever the weight of the discus is. But then in college, the discus and the shot get heavier, but the javelin stays the same. And so it was like, it took me 3 years to figure out the disc and the shot in high school. I finally got decent at it, and then I got to college and it got harder again. And then I did like 3 meets doing shot put indoors, and it just like wasn't for me. And then I was doing jav, and then I tore my UCL. So I was just honestly like, I don't know. We were joking about it the other day. I was like, I don't know what event God designed me to do, but like, I don't know if it was javelin, but it's kind of just how it happened. Yeah. You know, I still wasn't ever the best on my team here because when I was a freshman, sophomore, we had older guys that were around that 63, 64 mark, and I was less. And then I got up to 60, but then Jordan was on the team, so still wasn't the best. So it was one of those things where I kind of was always just like hungry to learn more about it, just because I loved training and I loved nutrition and I just loved javelin and stuff. Like I just wanted to be good at something. I just had that inner desire to just be good at something. That's just kind of like what I was doing at the time. So that was it. Honestly, like there wasn't really a specific reason. It's just kind of like process. It was like, all right, throwing events, process of elimination. Which one are you the worst at, or which one are you the best at? And then that was it.
Yeah, mine was a little different. I started doing track because of football. I wanted to get faster. But with my accident in high school, my coach kind of made me do javelin, and I got pretty good at it pretty fast. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll stick with it. It was more of a hobby to me, and then I got to college and got more serious and more serious, and it kind of just stuck. I fell in love with it, and I think about the Roman Empire at least 7 times a week. So I mean, that's pretty cool. You throw a spear like a real Roman, so real Spartan.
Yeah. And did you ever think that you were going to be where you're at now with javelin, national champion, going to the Olympic trials?
If you told me a few years ago, no, definitely not. I like I said, this was just for fun. Like I literally came in after football, a couple months of training, and I just did it. It was fun. But if you told me last year, I think I'd believe it because it started getting real serious last year, and I really started caring for it, and I wanted to be the best, and I want to be the best in the world at the end of the day, and it's just an addiction. So
yeah, and so I wanted to talk about that next. You threw 83 meters at the Texas Relays, the farthest throw out of anyone in the United States has ever thrown a javelin. That has ranked you 4th best in the world. I mean, there's only 3 other guys in front of you. Can you be the best javelin thrower in the world?
I don't think there's anything stopping me. There's definitely still dudes like a lot of the best dudes in the world haven't thrown yet. So I might get bumped down the next week, or I might go up because we have our meet next week at Drake Relays. But at the end of the day, the goal is to be the best in the world, and I think it is possible, and that's what I want to do. And I guess we're just gonna grind for it and just see how it plays out.
Yeah. You got a couple of meets coming up, so just speak about what the next what's upcoming for you guys, and talk about the Olympic trials because that's huge. Paris 2024 is coming up. So
yeah. I guess I'll talk about our first meet. We got Drake Relays next week. Thursday, was that the 25th? That's in Iowa. That's a big meet. That's a B rank. He knows more than me. I just kind of go to these places.
I'm just the one stressing about trying to put it all together. So
yeah.
Jordan's like, let me know where and when.
Pretty much. But it's a B rank meet. Like I said, Iowa. There's a decent amount of dudes going. We got Curtis Thompson going. He's former Olympian. Mike Stein also climbing up there. I'm not sure he could probably name them all, but I could probably name those two. So that's a serious meet. After that, kind of brings back down. It goes into our conference meet, and then New England's, and then after that is D2 nationals. Then it's in between Let me get it. In between the nationals and Olympic trials is our Grand Prix in New York. So that is another B-ranked meet, which is, God damn it. So A-ranked meet, and then it's Olympic trials, which is B, which is weird to me.
Yeah, it is weird, but I think that holds more weight in the eyes of the USATF.
Yeah.
And I think they, even though it's B ranked, they give like weird amount of more extra points or something for the winner. And then Jav Fest, which is
I forgot about that one.
That's in July. I don't know if that's before or after the Olympic cutoff though or not, so I'm not sure if it'll help or matter. Hopefully it will.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Jordan Davis, Olympian. How does that sound to you?
Sounds pretty good. Sounds like a lot of work, but we got it.
You're getting a free trip to Paris. I know the lady will love that.
If it was, I don't know. We'll find out because there's like some politics and stuff where they kind of like they assign like a USATF like throws coach and whatnot. So we'll see if I get chosen to be. I mean, I could always be a personal coach, but there's not always the guaranteed Team USA coach title that guarantees you like travel and stuff like that. So we'll see. But if Jordan goes enough times in his career and he sticks with me as his coach, then hopefully by a couple more years they'll choose me, I guess, eventually.
Gotcha. Do any of those guys, those big time guys that you just named, do they ever reach out to you, DM you like, hey, keep doing what you're doing? Or is it more like hostile? Is it like kind of like a competitive environment? Like,
no, the Jav world, it's small.
Yeah.
And like when you start getting higher, it's even smaller. So I feel like the real dudes, we're all pretty cool. Like I've talked to them all. I've talked to Curtis Thompson, Michael Shuey. I've talked to Mark Minicello before, Mike Stein, all of them. It's all positive. It's all positive stuff. I'm obviously young and new to the sport, so there's a lot of encouragement. There's obviously it's a sport, so there's obviously when it gets close to the meet, it might be a little different. And like at the meet, it's kind of like we're not boys right now. I'm trying to beat you, But yeah, it's a pretty positive world. We have we kind of mesh with another group not so greatly. But other than that, what group I'm talking about. Other than that, it's pretty close world. I get DMs like every day by pretty good dudes, and then obviously the other end of the spectrum.
What's going on? What's this group? Fill me in here. What's this?
Oh God, do we name drop?
We can name drop.
You do whatever you want.
No, you go ahead, Dan.
I mean, this is
it's more you than me.
It's a pretty famous podcast, so
yeah. So it's two of where he obviously created a name that's pretty high up. The other high up name is the US Jav Project.
Yep.
So we're kind of in the same battle for the Olympics as them. So it's obviously gonna maybe get a little hot. The dudes in the group are actually really cool. It's more the
I'll just provide a little bit of context now that you said that. So basically, my mentor Kevin, who has the Javelin Anatomy podcast, I owe like 90% of my success as a coach to him. And then, they don't really like his type of ideas and stuff. So I stand with like Kevin on what he preaches, and he's great and helped me out a ton. And obviously with his athletes, he's done really well. And now with me coaching Jordan, he's done really well. But I always love to learn, and I always try to humble myself in like terms of people that are better than me, have thrown way further than me and have coached at a higher level than me. So this past off season, I flew out and actually trained with them for about a week and learned under their coach and some of the other coaches that have come from their development system and mingled with their athletes and stuff like that. So it's I think a friendly competition and stuff. We definitely have different viewpoints on things, but at the end of the day, it's always been good for me to learn both sides of Kevin's perspective and then also the USA Javelin Project's perspective on things, just because what I say to Jordan might not make sense to him. So by me learning and knowing different ways of articulating certain concepts, it helps me be able to explain some stuff. And, we did have some pretty big breakthroughs with Jordan's block and his penultimate after I went and trained with them. I think the faster right to left and the linear block kind of like helped Jordan make a lot of that progress that we've made. So, I like to be a student of the game and give respect to like people that are better than me. But at the end of the day, we got our own brand, and me and Jordan are a duo that, we'll be here for a while.
Yeah, mic drop. There we go. I like that. But you talk about your own brand, and you talk about being a student of the game, but actually you're kind of becoming a teacher of the game. And you've been a teacher to Jordan, but now you're a teacher to almost 30,000 people who follow you on YouTube and Instagram and listen to your podcast. So you started Jacked Javelin, and it's pretty much taken off. So what was your goal behind starting Jacked Javelin and that brand? And what can you say about the progress you've seen so far and where it's going to go and how it's going to grow?
Yeah, so, when I had my Coach Dan Lab account last year, I didn't really have a niche or a direction of where I was going. And some of the videos I was posting of Jordan last year started to pick up some traction, and I posted some arm care, and that stuff started picking up some traction and stuff. So a lot of throwers and baseball players and people that had Tommy John kind of started reaching out and asking for advice on that type of stuff. So my goal was basically to make javelin more mainstream, like I kind of talked about a little earlier. But in order to do that, it was like, represent javelin in a way of being fit, being in shape, being a freak athlete. And it's something that, me and Jordan both try to embody, like being big and muscular, but being lean, where like we should be able to throw javelin, but then also be super mobile, almost like a gymnast or something. And then like also be able to compete in a bodybuilding show, but then also be able to compete in powerlifting or Olympic weightlifting. And so just being like this overall well-rounded like freak athlete. And then also, bringing that aesthetic and high quality content to javelin too, because, no one out there, mics themselves up during practice or during a meet and has a high quality like HD camera and has the best thrower in the nation and has like, a podcast about javelin, like, that's not out there. And so like a year ago when I set out to start that workout program, it just quickly evolved and it just became a huge passion of mine where like, yeah, it started off as a workout program, then I changed my whole brand to it, and now I'm launching my nutrition program next week, and the workout program itself has done really well. And obviously my javelin coaching with Jordan has been going very well. And so, that's been the whole heartbeat behind it is like show people that javelin throwers are freak athletes and show people that, javelin throwers are it's a really cool training style, a really cool sport. And just, like I said, just kind of bring that new swag to coaching of like being like a new age coach and using podcasting and the YouTube channel and being mic'd up during practice and meets and like putting high quality content out there and not, like I take a lot of pride in the aesthetic of things, but also the quality, right? Because it's like if my stuff looks really good, it's like got good audio, good camera visual, good clean format, but then I don't get good results with my athletes or I'm out of shape and I'm not walking the walk or like, think about it though.
Yeah,
if I was a fat slob, like Jacked Javelin wouldn't, so it keeps me in check. I got to stay in shape. I got to keep throwing so it's like, the main result is number one, like get good results with Jordan. And then for me, stay jacked as a coach and continue to produce really good results with me and Jordan, but then also produce really high quality content that other coaches aren't putting out there. And that's been a big part of being a student of the game, right? It's like I put some stuff out there like early in my coaching career. I mean, I'm still early. I'm like 2 years in technically, but like, last year I would put some stuff out and then people would hate on it. And I always looked at that as like an opportunity to learn. And that's what led to that trip out to Louisiana where I learned from the U.S. Javelin Project and stuff. Like, I'm not afraid to admit that I don't have all the answers and stuff, but like, it's important for you to put stuff out there and let it be open for criticism. Like that's fine because at the end of the day, like what I teach is, what I've gotten a good result from it. So, basically that's been the whole heartbeat behind it. Provide sick results, show people that javelin throwers are freak athletes and put out the highest quality content that, any other javelin coach is putting out.
That's great, man. That's fantastic. And you can see that it's starting to grow with the sport as well. It's kind of going parallel to it. And you guys are really changing the game. What are some things that you guys would tell up and coming, whether it's a high school javelin thrower, maybe a collegiate javelin thrower, maybe some kids? Like, what would you tell them right now what to work on and what to do to be, get put in your spots, a national champion and a great coach who has an up and coming brand?
I would just say be mobile, be strong, and have fun with it. At the end of the day, it's a sport. You gotta have fun, and by having fun, you're gonna like it more and get more addicted. So just have fun, have your own style, and just do your thing.
Yeah, I would say too to just looking at the lens of young coaches out there, because I know that you talked about my accolades and my success here, and I did decent. I got all New England. I came in second in the conference, but when you're looking at nationwide or worldwide, my 60-meter PR at this time isn't anything great. It's not, obviously it's 23 meters less than Jordan, so it's not great. But I would say if there's a young coach out there who you went through those injuries, you went through that struggle, but you were super passionate about it, and you went and learned, and you put your money where your mouth is, and you paid for mentorship, you paid to be in those rooms with higher level coaches, and got the inside scoop and learned from them and studied the sport. It's you can still be a good coach even if you don't have a 70-meter PR or higher, because I think that's a stigma with track is it's great that Division 1, 2, and 3 you get to see where people rank depending on what number they were, but a lot of people will use, what was your PR when you were competing, and they kind of might credit you or discredit you based on what your PR was, but it's not always as black and white as the number seems. There's a lot of variables that went into my career that kind of led me down the path that I was. And being realistic, I was 21 when I started training Jordan. I was probably 22 when I shifted my focus of realizing damn, he's a lot better than me. And maybe I should kind of focus on this kid more than myself. And 22 is young to be able to do that,
Yeah.
Jan Zalesny, the world record holder, a lot of these guys that peak, they throw their PR at 28 to 30, and that's where the goal is with Jordan is all right, if he's 22 throwing 84 almost, let's try to get him to 95 by the time he's 30, and it's for me being 22 to kind of take that step back and be all right, let's start, putting almost more time into Jordan than myself. It's maybe I would have thrown 65 if I wasn't in the role that I was in, but I wouldn't change it for anything.
Yeah, and that's where that becoming a student of the game comes into play too, like you talked about before, that the importance of that. Some of the best coaches in all sports didn't really even make it past high school, right? And they're just students of the game.
Yeah.
So that's really cool that you realized that, early on, and you've produced a great javelin thrower, a great athlete with Jordan. What is the world record though?
98-48.
98-48?
Yeah.
Can you hit 100, do you think, in your lifetime? Do you think we'll ever see that?
Well, maybe I get a bionic arm, maybe, but 98's crazy.
Who threw that? Do you know who threw it?
Jan Zalesny.
Jan Zalesny.
Yeah.
The name
From the
rings.
Czech Republic.
Yeah. No one. The last person that came close was Vedder.
Vedder threw 97-76, so he's less than a meter off. That was a couple years ago.
No one has really.
Yeah, it's hard, man. It's it's one of those things. Once you start getting to that 85 meter mark, it's it's tough to keep going up. Even I actually watched the interview last night where Vedder's PR was 94 going into the last Olympics, and they were no, it was 2 world championships ago. His PR was 94 going in there, and they're do you think you're gonna get the world record? And he's I already PR'd by 5 meters this year. He's to jump up another 5 meters. He's you people that don't throw javelin don't realize how hard it is to do that once you're already throwing 94 meters,
Yeah.
So that's a just to touch upon that too, just our perspective of Jordan is yeah, it's awesome that we've jumped up 9 meters at this point, but it's now it's all right, we're going to mostly try to stay consistent between 82 and 86. It would be dumb for us to be we're going to try to hit 95 this year. It's if that happens, it's awesome. But, realistically, our goal is to like hit the standard and stay between like where we're at and the standard, which is like 85-50 would be like the automatic qualifier for the Olympics. So, you know, you got to be realistic with yourself, but you also need to, you know, you want to have those goals to put yourself in contention, you know?
Yeah. So what do you need to get into so you got to go through the trials. Can you just take me through the trials quickly and just kind of like the breakdown of that? I know there's a qualifier to get there and then all that stuff.
So there's an automatic qualifier for both Olympic and Olympic trials. Olympic trials is, I think, 78. I'm not sure if it's 78 or 78.5. It's something like that. So right now for the trials, there's 5 people in the U.S. that have that automatic qualifier. But if only those 5 people throw that mark, they're going to take the next. I'm not sure how many they take. Is it 20?
24, I think, total.
Yeah, so they'll take the next 19 best after that, and they'll be in the trial. So you could be in the trials maybe with 74, you know? And then it's kind of like the Olympics is different. There's the automatic, but if 5 people throw that automatic, they're gonna go off points in the Olympic trials and how you do there.
Like 5 people from like the same country, basically.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to take like a pretty even split from like different regions and stuff. So it's like if 10 people from United States through the automatic qualifier, they're not going to have a third of the people that go to the Olympics from the same country, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Germany.
To my understanding. I don't know. I'm learning something new about it literally every day. So
Germany had like 20 people.
yeah, well that's the thing too, is like the last Olympics, I think they had
4.
you know, the automatic qualifier was like 83 and like 4 people from Germany through it. So I think they changed some of the rules like after that. But
Where is the trials?
Eugene, Oregon.
Oh, so is that the Nike complex?
Yeah.
Or is it like something?
It's like that track stadium.
Gotcha. That's got to be cool, man.
Yeah.
That's got to be cool. Are you excited for it?
Yeah, it'll be sweet. Cool experience. I mean, you don't get to travel that much all the time, and being able to travel and do your sport is a cool experience.
What's your brother thinking? Because he was probably on his high horse. He's Connecticut state football records, played at Fordham, and he was probably I'm the best athlete in the family. Yeah. And now the potential Olympian comes in. What are you telling him?
If you talk to him, he is the most supportive brother you could ask. All my brothers are. He's not selfish about it. He's been telling me since high school. He's like, you're a better athlete than me. So it's like, it's not a shock to him, I guess. But he's super supportive. But now I get to. My oldest brother played D1 baseball at URI. I mess with him sometimes because he used to say he had the best arm in the family. I was like, no, I do, and we'd get into it. But now he's finally like, you have the best arm.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, that's cool.
And so you went to Sheehan High School. You went to Berlin. I was at Southington, so we're all in the same area.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if you know this about me, but I actually threw a little javelin myself back in my heyday. Oh yeah, it's still a little sore. So I actually found a video of myself throwing. So I was wondering if you guys, I was gonna play it for you, and then I just want to see what you guys got to think. Maybe my technique could help me out a little bit. This was 2018 junior varsity javelin at Farmington High School. You can play that.
that'll be a fault. Okay.
The caption is "That'll be a fault." The run up.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, pretty good, huh?
Oh my god, I just threw up.
What year was this? Were you
2018. I was a senior. I was going to college in about a month and a half.
That's nuts.
You know how far that went?
Like I said, fault.
Yeah, your carry position is crazy low. So you're like, look how low he's holding.
Yeah, there's a.
And then like basically you should have just thrown from a stand throw because you stopped, and then your back foot's coming off the ground before you're releasing it.
Look at the crossovers.
Yeah, let's see this.
2 shuffle steps.
Yeah, the crossovers, the right leg's not coming over the top, so like you're basically he's shuffling, so your right knee's not crossing over.
So pretty much what he's saying is
I'm unathletic.
No, it's perfect.
Perfect.
You have it.
What was your main event? Was this like
High jump?
Okay.
Thank God.
So what was were you just like throwing jabs just for fun?
I think I picked up the stick, and I was with my friends, and they were like, "I bet you can't throw farther than me." I said, "All right, watch this," and we produced this beautiful.
Did you throw farther than him though?
Nah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
My buddy actually threw javelin at Stonehill.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, no, did not beat him.
Your dignity was gone.
It was gone. Their big hill, but I was a slow walk up that big hill. Slow walk of shame up that big hill. But listen, man, I thank you guys for coming on the podcast. This was a lot of fun. We got to do this again. We got to get an update when you guys go out to Oregon and come back. We'll do another show and we'll talk about it a little bit, man. But I appreciate you guys coming on. This was awesome. Dan and Jordan, thank you guys, and thank you everyone for tuning in to episode 6 of Live with Tim O'Shea. This has been a fun interview, so appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us on. It was a blast.